people are simply choosing to miss the mark on proof of weekends. And I have a complete theory on why this occurs, but let's go ahead and get started while we're at it. You get a cut of every exchange fee, volume-based income. That's just important to always remember. Let's go here first. If you've not seen this video, here we go.
A lot to go over with P3D. But we need to get it out there. We need to make it clear. And I love to be supporting this project before anyone else even knows what the fuck it is. It seems like when you're in crypto for a long time and you've been teaching people about blockchain and teaching people about cryptocurrency, and it seems like everyone kind of learns on the same pattern. Everyone takes in information almost in the same way.
So what he's referencing here is a herd mentality that actually exists in every part of our society. People tend to feel like the herd is correct, but the herd is oftentimes wrong. And that's kind of what he's talking about right here.
So it's to be a good investor and to see what's coming in the future, it really helps knowing how the mass public is going to be learning about this information. And the fact that we're just in such a stage of ignorance right now, it's ridiculous. I mean, like all the real OGs out there that have been in crypto since Bitcoin was $6, Bitcoin was $10, like if they did any research in P3D, they would instantly know what it is. They would instantly have a grasp why it's so unique, why it's so important. And the fact that no one wants to look into it, we still have very well-known YouTubers like that really have no grasp of what blockchain is yet. And it just seems like we're in this stage where people are learning technical analysis with trading over actually understanding the technology. And if I could give you any advice at all, it is go back, put away the trading technical analysis, and learn about blockchain. Learn about how it works. Learn about what it's going to change, what smart contracts are going to do, what fields it's going to completely revolutionize. All this is very important. All this will make you a better trader. And once you get that down, it just gets easier and easier because you could really, it's very easy to weave through the bullshit. It's very easy to know which companies are going to be good, which companies are the most game-changing, which companies are going to be the Airbnbs, the multi-billion-dollar businesses that are all going to be on the blockchain. This is all stuff we need to think about. And the fact that, I'm still seeing well-known YouTubers and people posting on forums like that they're just looking at P3D and they've done no research on it, no in-depth study, nothing. Just blows my fucking mind. And it just shows the ignorance of anyone that's saying, this is a pyramid scam, this is a Ponzi scheme, blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous.
And on that note, case in point, someone who has been one of my favorite YouTubers forever, Boxmining. I'm beginning to fall. His real name is Michael. He has a great daily show. In fact, I just recommended his channel to someone yesterday, and I'm beginning to fall out of favor with him a bit. And I'll tell you why. Here's what's really happening when he talks about when the Time is Crypto, which is the name of the channel that we were just looking at. When he talks about people and this is a horrible freeze frame of Michael. Sorry, Michael. When he talks about the kind of the herd mentality. What's happening out there is a lot of the big YouTubers, they don't distinguish themselves. They do very little things to truly distinguish themselves, and they're all worried about their subscriber counts and their egos. And it's almost like they're fearful of doing something that their other fellow YouTubers won't agree with. And there's no greater example of this than P3D, Proof of Weekends, because they're simply not doing any research at all. And they say stuff that is so stupid. Now listen, here's the thing. On my channel, this is not how I make a living. This is not how I validate myself. This is not my fame, my fortune. This is my hobby. So I will always just be probably politically incorrect. I'll just explain how I feel and say what I do. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, it's okay. But I'm going to say what I feel based off of my understanding. And I'm going to do my best not to allow my subscriber comments or other YouTubers' opinions of me. I mean, Michael's a great example. I mean, the guy used to shill for Genesis mining forever. He believed in mining, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, if you go back, there's no Genesis mining, links. I mean, he's removed links from his videos. And it's like, what in the world? It's not like that's a bad company. Yeah, cloud mining is not profitable right now. But I think when I started following him, he had 900 subscribers. So when you go up to 100,000, 150,000 subscribers, you start hitting the Ivan on Tech levels. Really and truly, he's one of the biggest YouTubers in the space. But I think that there's someone, I mean, I always feel like there's someone whispering, you're better than this, you shouldn't be doing this or something, because it really, you can tell that these guys change. But here he's talking specifically about a Ponzi scheme that got shut down in South Korea. And here's what he says.
But that's not the only one. We got Bitcoin Trust and Savings. That's probably one of the first ones I was exposed to. And Bitcoin pyramid schemes and cryptocurrency pyramid schemes have been very prevalent in the space. It's just because people don't take the time to understand the technology.
People don't take the time to understand the technology. The irony of this. Now, by the way, when he talks about Bitcoin saving and trust, I've heard him talk about it before. They were a legitimate pyramid scheme. It appeared that you were able to store your Bitcoin with this website, and for holding your Bitcoin, they basically paid you an interest. How did they pay you the interest? Because they weren't doing anything to bring in money. Well, if you gave them, $10,000 in Bitcoin, you got interest, a small interest payment of maybe, I forget what it was, a few percent a day maybe, or percent a day or percent a month, who knows? They were paying you every month. Well, where does that money come from? It comes from the money they're getting from everyone. So they're using your $20,000 or your $10,000 that you gave them. They're using that money to pay you back, and they're using part of that money to pay other people back. Well, after a while, there's more investors than your 20,000 or your 10,000 can cover. So what do? They keep taking investors' money, and they keep promising these returns. And as long as they're promising returns and they're able to pay out, people feel like it's legitimate and they keep putting money in. But they're literally paying everybody out of the exact same pool of funds. That's a traditional Ponzi scheme. There is nothing going on. There's nothing to create an income. You're misled on where your money's coming from. You're not told the truth. Michael did not intentionally join Bitcoin Savings and Trust or BitTrust or whatever it was called because he thought it was a Ponzi scheme. He wanted to believe it was real. They were paying out a consistent income, but he had no proof of what they were doing with the money, and they lied. They misrepresented that. Keep that in mind. They lied. They misrepresented that. That's a Ponzi scheme. Same thing Bernie Madoff did.
And hence it's a little bit harder to distinguish what's a pyramid scheme from valid project. So this has been a continuous problem, and we've seen other pyramid schemes too in recent days. For example, proof of weak hands, which is just a blatant, clear pyramid scheme, and people are still buying into it. The problem with pyramid schemes is that they don't.
Okay, he just said. See, he just made Thomas Crypto's point perfectly. He just said it's a blatant pyramid scheme. Michael's definition of pyramid scheme is either changing, factually, here's what's happening. Either his definition, when he makes a statement of what a pyramid scheme has to change because proof of weak hands is nothing like Bitcoin Savings and Trust. It's completely transparent. You know where the money's coming from. They're not using investment funds or people's tokens that they're buying. They're not using those to pay out other people. You can see it. It's on the blockchain. So either his definition of a pyramid scheme is changing, or he simply hasn't followed his own advice and done his own research. And that's the problem with some of these YouTubers. They're losing credibility, and they're losing the value they bring to the community because they're literally talking heads. That it's like when you see people on CNN. I've got an acquaintance of mine who was actually on CNBC one time, and on CNBC she was what do you call it? Like a not a correspondent, but she was one of the guests they brought on to talk about a specific subject. And she was talking about money matters, getting out of debt, paying off debt. And she's went on to earn millions of dollars in business and blah, blah, blah. And she was talking about money management rules. Well, as soon as the camera cuts away, a very famous host said, I could only imagine what it would be like to be able to actually earn a large income and to be debt free. Now, this is a very famous host that you would think, makes tons of money, the whole 9 yards. But the reality is they're simply a talking head reading off a teleprompter. Now, Michael's not reading off a teleprompter, and if he is, he's reading off of notes that he created. But he's diminishing his value right here because he's contradicting himself, or he simply is talking about something from a stance of authority that he knows nothing about, which is unfortunate. He hasn't even done his own research. But let's keep reading. Let's keep listening for a little bit more.
Don't offer any value in the long run, and people will get burned because
P3D doesn't offer any value in the long run. If that's the case, again, he just doesn't understand the contract. He doesn't understand the future. He doesn't understand how insurance works. He doesn't understand how savings accounts work. He doesn't understand. There's a lot of potential uses. If nothing else, P3D could be a form of a crypto savings account because as more people get involved, there's going to ultimately be a little less volatility. How do we know this? Just look at the stock market. If the stock market returns 10% a year, that's a good year. P3D and crypto moves by a tremendous amount right now, only because they don't have the volume of funds in place. The bigger P3D gets, over time, as people start to find out about this, not only are early investors or early players likely to earn a lot of money in the long run, however, at the same time, it's going to become much more stable as well. And again, it could potentially be some form of a crypto's savings account in the future, potentially. That is a potential use case for it. As well as potentially insurance, supplemental retirement fund, supplemental insurance fund. There's a lot of the model in and of itself of P3D is already very fascinating. Very fascinating. Already P3D would make a better, just as it sits with nothing out of it. I've got a buddy of mine who has a medical share savings account, one of those savings accounts where it's kind of like an insurance plan, basically, where it's like a Christian organization. Everybody puts in money, and when you have a claim, you submit the claim, and basically the group pays towards your medical bills, that sort of thing. That's kind of how it works. The problem is there's no guarantee on what the group's going to agree to pay and not pay and that sort of thing. And somebody makes those decisions. So it's clearly centralized. Somebody makes those decisions and it's not you. In a decentralized environment, something like P3D would work far, far better than something like a MetaShare plan.
Eventually it's going to run out of suckers that buy into it, and then you're going to end up with a situation of a massive collapse in the price, just like
Okay, first of all, hang on.
what happened with BitConnect.
Okay, so now he's talking about what happened with BitConnect. However, that is, okay, two different things here. When a Ponzi scheme typically collapses, there's no collapse in price. There's nothing there. When Bernie Madoff went to jail, there was no money left over to be able to refund people. It was done. When BitConnect went under, and there's no proof of exactly what BitConnect was doing or what they weren't doing, who knows? Truthfully, it could have just been horrible business decisions at the end on their part. But their actions lead you to believe that something wasn't kosher. However, what they did was issued a token. That token had an arbitrary value that they helped prop up the value of that token by holding so many of those tokens. So when they flooded the market with a bunch of tokens, it collapsed the price. That's not what's going to happen with proof of weak hands. And again, Michael either doesn't understand Ponzi schemes, or he hasn't done any research on proof of weak hands, or he's just simply being disingenuous. And I hope he's not being disingenuous. But let's get back over here.
And I want to show you, I want to go over some stuff in this video, and I want to go over some math, and I want to show you why I'm trying to get the #1 account. And I want you guys to build a follow with me. I want you to build a, even if you get weak hands, get scared, I want to be able to show you exactly what I'm doing and why I've been a successful trader for so many years, why I'm working on the projects I'm working on, all this stuff. It all comes into just the knowledge and the psychology of knowing what the mass amount of people is going to do. And if you know what the mass public's going to do, it is very easy to make money in cryptocurrency. So let's get to it. All right, let's check the account. We're going to go to P3D's page. And I've just been reinvesting. I'm going to do another little reinvest right now before we get started. 6 P3D. Pump up the gas a little bit. All right, that's it. So let me hop to I posted a YouTube video 2 days ago or something, and someone's already commenting, like, when I put out a prediction or when I'm trying to guess a range or something, I put out just a guesstimate that the bottom was going to be around 6,500 Ethereum. I do not give a shit what the bottom is, because if you're a smart investor and you know what this is, I've already calculated every situation that could happen. I know what it's going to be. I know how much money I would already make off of it. Everything can be mathematically calculated. So if the contract goes from 6,295 like it is right now, in the next week, if it goes down to 2,000 Ethereum, I know exactly what I'm going to be at. I know exactly how many dividends I would make off the selling side of it. All of that, you know, and if you're staying on top of it that much, you're going to do good. And if you're going into it with the right mindset, you are going to do really good. And I really want to stress how important it is to understand just how, like, first of its kind P3D is. And I have been in the crypto game since the beginning. So I've put out debate offers. I've put out, you know, other YouTubers. Crazy. No one wants to take me up on a debate.
I find that absolutely telling. That sort of debate, first of all, Proof of Weakness 3D is getting searched a tremendous amount on YouTube right now. That sort of debate would bring even if the debate, you know, neither side was convinced, it was just a stalemate, we agree to disagree, that sort of debate would bring a flood of new visitors to an individual YouTuber's channel. But Michael, Ivan on Tech, any of those guys could debate him, and he claims nobody's taking him up on his offer. I get it. I've actually challenged 1 or 2 people to a debate as well. Nobody wants to do it. And I think that is so telling, because you can disagree with the project, but it's very hard to disagree with what you're looking at, which is an immutable smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain.
Weird. But so let's start from the beginning here. Let's go back in time and let's talk a little bit about Ethereum, okay? So when Bitcoin first came out, and when things just started pumping, just like how they are now, you know, it
This is important to keep in mind as we're watching now, because history always repeats itself.
It takes people time to get that first spark of interest. It takes people time to actually realize why this is going to be so revolutionary. Realize why this is going to change the game. Because most of the time, for the first 2 years, people are just on this money way of thinking. They can't get past the trading aspect. They can't get past the sending and receiving and thinking that.
He said for the first year or two. See, I think this is huge for early players in this game. And granted, it's a game, but it's a game like poker. It's a game that could be very profitable. He said it could take a year or two. So I think that just screams now's the time to research this technology, to research this token, to research this game. And if you like it, then if you like the technology behind it, see, for me, it's more than just a game and profits. It's always technology based. It's always being a part of the future. And we are so early in the future now that even in the crypto space, people haven't even adopted this yet. Just like he talks about Ethereum, it took a good year or two for people to start to see the value of it. That's huge.
That's all it is. Like, it's just another Western Union or another stock or another. And once they actually get the spark of interest of realization of blockchain and what it is and how it works, that's what's important. You need to understand how Bitcoin works. You need to understand how the Bitcoin blockchain works, how long it takes for a block to get created, what the circulation is going to be, how often a halving is, all that stuff, because when you understand just the basics and you have Bitcoin down and you fully understand how the Bitcoin blockchain works, then you'll have a greater grasp on all blockchains in a sense. Because in the first couple years when, like right after Bitcoin came out, we were just seeing copycat after copycat after copycat. And they were all doing the exact same thing, just with a little modified features. You know what I mean? Like 4 times the amount of coins for Litecoin, faster transactions, yeah. But it's the same shit. Until Ethereum came out. And Ethereum was the first blockchain to come out that was a smart contract blockchain. And Ethereum, in a sense, changed the game again, because now, instead of having to be this certain way, they basically gave businesses the opportunity. They said, here you go, you can design it whichever way you want. And that's why I can't stress enough how much smart contracts are going to completely change the game. Every business you could think of, a smart contract can do something for. It's going to, from the 100 employee businesses, the way they pay, their employees, the way you buy a house, the way you buy a car, everything can be ran off of a smart contract. And what people don't seem to realize, let's go to CoinMarketCap. What people don't seem to realize is that when they're looking at Ethereum tokens on CoinMarketCap, like EOS, a lot of the other bigger names and stuff, they're not even taking into account that these projects are all speculative. Like 85% don't even have a working product out yet. You are just investing into something that's speculative to make money later down the road. And humans can only compare something to things of their past. That's why everyone who looks at P3D and sees pyramids on the front of it instantly screams, Ponzi, there's pyramids, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. One, because they have no general understanding of how blockchain works, no general understanding of how a smart contract works, and they don't even know how to think about it other than what their mind is already in.
For that matter, it seems like most of them don't actually know what a Ponzi scheme is.
So it's very hard it's trying to explain the internet to someone before the internet was around. It's very hard to do. And we're going through that again right now. And what is going to make cryptocurrency expand the fastest is getting everyone in cryptocurrency and in the world to understand the true implications of what it's going to bring. We need to get out of this money way of thinking. We need to get out of, it is only good for money. I'm only using this to make money. Money is just such a small side factor of the use cases that are about to be brought out in the next couple of years.
That's true.
So when people truly understand that, it'll give them that spark. And people need that spark to want to dive in and put in research on their own. Or else we just get another 500 people in random Facebook groups who think they're crypto experts now, and they're just blabbing off a bunch of bullshit that they're mushing together from their mind, picking up different paragraphs of posts people posted all over the place. And in reality, they don't even really know how to think about what they're talking about. So let's get started with P3D. I want to go back to the beginning, and I want to talk about Dogecoin, and I want to talk about why it's so unique. And people get this misconception of, oh, well, there was two projects before P3D. Why wouldn't the third one just get hacked again? Blah blah blah. Well, if you do your research and you dive into stuff enough, and you've been doing this for a living since the beginning, you get better and better at knowing how to do your research.
So I think this is fascinating when he talks about doing your research, because the majority of YouTubers out there anyway, and probably people in general, I don't think they know how to do basic research, or they just listen to someone else who they trust, and that's good enough. Listen, there is money on the line, game or no game, technology or no technology. There is money on the line. People will do more research on the next car they're going to buy, the next TV they're going to buy, the next computer that they're going to buy. Oh, they'll do more research on those things than they'll ever do on where they're going to place their money. And it's mind-blowing. But it is so obvious that we are early in this space, which means that the risk is high and the potential is also extremely high. It's amazing to me that people are wanting to jump in on things like EOS, and like he's talking about, these 85% of projects that have no working product of any kind. But yet they're throwing money in, they're talking about it on Twitter. Some of people are putting in tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a long shot that doesn't even have a product in place, no use case, no potential, no nothing. And by the way, even organizations that are considered reputable, like use EOS for an example, that's considered a reputable project. That's exactly why the SEC is going to come down on projects like that for doing ICOs, because they are essentially raising money to fund. So there's no way to say that's exactly the exact same purpose of an IPO. And I don't necessarily agree with the SEC coming down on the crypto space, but it is what it is. That's exactly why, though. Because eventually, sooner or later, people get burned bad when there's no new investors and the project collapses. And there's no money, there's nothing to give out. I mean, it's gone. Does that sound familiar to what Boxmining was saying? But if you do your research, and that's possible to happen with any project. But a project that at least has a use case and a functional product is far closer to being a sustainable long-term project versus one that is just a concept with some really smart people. And maybe they're not that smart, but they got really great resumes. And that's what a lot of these cryptocurrencies are.
And so let's go back to the way P3D was created. P3D came out as a side joke project, that turned into something amazing. And they didn't even know what they had until someone came along and helped. And
the P3D, when it first came out, by the way, it was original. The current developers are not the original developer. The original developer was a PhD in math, is what I've read. And he basically literally created a Ponzi token. That was the name of it, Ponzi token. And he was basically playing with math and was trying to figure out, what you could do with a cryptocurrency. And it was really more of a probably some part of a thesis or his own study or his own fun or whatever. It was never, ever actually supposed to be a real thing at all. And some people they found his research and they basically ripped off the code. They created a token. They launched it on the Ethereum blockchain, obviously, and they started promoting it as an actual legitimate token. And when they did that, eventually it got hacked because the original developers weren't developers. They were just copy and pasters playing around.
And help them write new code for it. So the first couple attempts by a completely different development team, went to shit because in reality, they just weren't at the level they needed to be at, to put something out there like what P3D is today. And the P3D today, has been through more auditing and has been checked over more times than a lot of the major companies on the Ethereum blockchain. And that's what people don't understand, you know, and people don't grasp that P3D is already a working product. It's already in existence, and it cannot be shut down. That's the huge difference. Like I see all these people talking about Lend Connect and, you know, any other fucking USI, any other fucking lending platform. It is not comparable to what P3D is. Why? Because you cannot trust your money in anything to do in the hands of another human, if that makes sense. You do not want to risk your money in the hands of another human. And that's why things like P3D are so important. It's immutable, it can't be destroyed, and as a consensus, you know, like I tell my team all the time, ask me, I want to hear questions that I would ask myself. And like a good question I would ask myself is, oh, well, you know, if you're not a professional coder, how would you know this stuff? You know, because of the research I've been doing for years, you start to learn who to follow, who to trust. And as a taking in information in a consensus, you know, like I'm reviewing multiple things a day. I'm reviewing people I've been following for 6, 7+ years now. So when I get a consensus of 5 to 10 people that I've been following 7 to 10, you know, fucking years, that's what I trust. I trust the general consensus of what, you know, people are telling me, the forums that I go on, the people who I'm in their circle with, you know. I've been in the game a long time. I'm a big fish in the crypto field. And I'm happy to be here for you guys now in this channel. I'm gonna make it really fucking fun for you guys. So I hope you subscribe and like the channel and show some love. And I'll hook it up on my side and try to make the content as enjoyable as possible. So let's go past the start. Let me pull this up. So now that P3D came out, you know, a new creator came out. He wrote the code. Once the code's written, you know, it's
the new creator, by the way, is, I think his name's Manso. He's actually in the Discord, and he communicates in the Discord. So if you're going to do research, you definitely should be a part of the Discord. Now, the Discord's like any other community, a lot of drama, a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Overall, it's a great community to be a part of. But Manso talks in there often, and I've heard him explain that he was an original investor in one of the versions of the Ponzi token. And when he saw that, and he enjoyed the mathematical side of it, when it got hacked, he realized that the actual development team were not developers. They were not coders. They didn't know. So he looked at the code and realized that he could just do this from scratch, from the ground up. So he got with one of the main guys who launched it and said, hey, if you'll let me take over the project, let me have say-so, you know, you'll basically be in touch with everything that I'm doing, but I'll rebuild this from scratch. I'll redo the whole thing, and I'll do it from scratch. And that's exactly what's happened to the current P3D token. It's Manso coded it from scratch. The code is not even, my understanding is not even the same code, the same basis of the code of the previous versions of Provable Weekends.
It is a contract, and the difference between all these other businesses is these other businesses are they're promising on a white paper. They're putting out dreams and promises with no working product yet. P3D has a working product. It is a already built contract. It's already set in stone, you know, and now that it's out, it is out. It can't be changed. Why can't it be changed? Because anyone can look at the source code. Anyone can go through the source code and read every single line. So we have all these good coders, you know, going through the source code, and when they say it's legit, you know, I trust certain people in the field to fully investigate and look through it. And it's what makes it so awesome is the simplicity of P3D. Why it's so solid is because of how simple the contract is. And I'm actually surprised that we didn't see something like this a long time ago. It took actually way longer than I thought for a smart contract to come out like this. So just the fact that it's already up and running, it's already like people are highly underestimating this stuff. And right now we are in such a gray area of just ignorance.
I want to give you another example of how people are underestimating this. If you look in North America and the Social Security system in North America, you have to understand how it was created. It was first created originally. It got passed through Congress by saying that the funds were going to be segregated in the federal budget. Nobody would be able to touch them. So everybody would pay in. And the idea was legitimately that people were not capable of being able to save their own money. So the government needed to protect them. And therefore the government was going to force you to pay in your taxes basically into Social Security. And that money was going to be segregated. And it passed, and that's what happened. Many years later, whatever it was, 5, 10, 15 years, Congress passed a law basically that said, hey, we can use the Social Security funds that were segregated. We can now use them to be a part of the federal budget, basically to let them be able to. And the reason behind it is because the idea was the aging population is always going to be smaller than the population, the young working population. Therefore, there will always be a larger pool of payers than there will be beneficiaries. In other words, a larger pool of investors, if you want to call it that, than people who are actually pulling money out. So therefore we'll stay solvent, or, we'll continue to be able to pay out indefinitely. But Congress has gotten involved with, using that money, and they spend more and more. The federal budget grows faster and faster. So they're actually spending that money faster, and it's already earmarked for things outside of Social Security. So now here's what happens. There's not enough. So they raise Social Security age. They cut benefits. And now you've got a centralized body affecting money that you're supposed to be putting aside to help supplement your retirement. Now imagine if P3D, imagine if this thing was bigger and there was, 1 million, 2 million, 10 million people paying into this thing. There's 300 million people in the US, however many adults, but just imagine if there was millions of people paying into this. And just imagine that it may not, exactly how much tokens you have in. Their current value. You can see the value go up and down. Now, people are oftentimes tricked by an illusion of stability. The federal government is an illusion of stability because they currently, thankfully, haven't ever went bankrupt. But it doesn't mean that they could never go bankrupt. Keep that in mind. But most people know they'll never get all the money they pay into Social Security out. What if you could be assured that you would get it out in the form of a cryptocurrency? What if you could be assured of that? And following the logic of, more payers than there are people pulling out, it would still support the token. Following the logic that there's a true incentive to keep your tokens in because of the exchange fees, there's a lot of people that may opt to, I'm not going to pull my tokens out. I'm earning enough in Ethereum every month. I can choose to quote unquote live off of that. At least then it's completely transparent. You don't have a central body taking your money. This could potentially be massive. And there's no guarantee this is going to happen. Continue to assume my channel is total sapphire. I got some guy in a puppet mask talking to you. But people are missing the potential of this project by miles. And I'll be honest with you, it's moronic to say that it's just a pyramid scheme. There's nothing there. And if you say that there's no new investors coming in, then it collapses, then you simply don't understand the economy of the smart contract and how it works. That's not what happens at all. But let's keep watching.
Ignorance. People have no fucking idea, the difference. They have no idea between the difference of a lending platform or things like BitConnect, between things like P3D, and that's already a built, audited smart contract that can't be changed. And because Ethereum has already been running so long, now there is no reason why P3D's contract can't last as long as the Ethereum blockchain because it's built on Ethereum. And when I see these hacking questions all the time and stuff, one, keep in mind that P3D has been audited more than a lot of the larger businesses already on the Ethereum blockchain. So
I can't vouch for that. I have no proof of that outside of the fact of when you understand how many ETH is in the contract. There's been as much as 20,000 ETH in the contract. That's a pretty massive incentive when you consider Ethereum having a price point of around $500. That's a pretty massive incentive for someone to attempt to hack it. I do know that in the Discord that they have claimed that there's been through 2 hackathons, but I don't know what he's referring to. Now, I don't know if other contracts don't go through hackathons, and if so, that's what he's talking about maybe. I'm not sure. But it's fascinating to at least hear him say this because he definitely speaks with authority as if he's aware of something that maybe I'm not aware of.
Difficulty-wise of hacking, like, have contracts been hacked? Absolutely. You can't say they have. But now with 250 plus contracts and now P3D is highly audited and it has the same difficulty as any other contract being hacked. And keep in mind that a lot of these other contracts have over $100 million in them, $200 million in them. So when it comes to the difficulty of hacking P3D with 3.5 million or another contract with 500 million, you see what I'm saying? Like it's just not that much of an incentive for hackers to spend that much time trying to go after P3D. So I don't even see a fucking worry about hacking in the contract till, we hit fucking $500 million, if even then. I consider it very, very secure. So, and all it comes down to really is the volume. And people...
By the way, and truthfully, this gentleman's putting his money where his mouth is. He hasn't showed it yet, I don't think. But he's the number 2 account on P3D. Like, this guy has tens of thousands of dollars in P3D tokens.
I posted at the bottom the other day would be around 6,500. In reality, I do not give a shit. I do not care what the bottom is. Why? Because of how well I know human psychology and what people are going to do. So if right now the ETH balance is 6,312, if it drops another 4,000 Ethereum and goes down to 2,000, I know exactly how many dividends I'm going to make off that. I know exactly how many dividends I'm going to get to reinvest off that, and that's why I'm not worried about it. Like I hope it goes to 1,000 because people are highly underestimating, the immutability of this contract. They're highly underestimating the wave of people that are going to come into this when they actually learn what it is, and it's not an if, it's just a when. And people get worried and you get weak hands because you see P3D crashing and it's going down a shitload, within a couple days. It doesn't matter. The contract could drop down to 500 Ethereum at the end of the week. It has already built up a clientele of people. And what I mean by that is if you look on DApp Radar, places like that, it's already had over 3,000 people invest in it. So people have already invested in it. A lot of them have already pulled out money, made a profit off of it, and they're already waiting for their buy-in point. So in my mind, the contract can only get so low before a certain percentage of the clientele that the contract has already built up starts FOMOing back in, and the cycle continues. What's the most important? It's the ups and downs that the contract makes. That's how those dividends are made. So if you're going in this with the right mindset and you understand what this is and that this is going to be around for the long term, this isn't a fucking exit scam BitConnect. It's not in the hands of humans. This will be around for the long term. That's why I'm investing the way I am in it. That's why I'm trying to go for the #1 wallet. Let me show you the wallets right now. So right now, we can see.
I hope you call that. He has 2,600 tokens.
Right now, we can see that the #1 wallet, 28,900.
Sorry, 26,000 tokens.
81, and that's 2.7%. Right now, that seems like a lot, you know, and a lot of people I've seen on YouTube are going, oh, I want to wait till the big whales get out. I want to wait till it evens out a little bit. Well, let me tell you, it doesn't fucking matter. That amount of tokens is fucking nothing. Nothing. Because what's going to happen is out of these 8,387 addresses, maybe, you know, 4,500 are actual individual token holders. So what I'm saying is 4,500 token holders is nothing. We are on the ground floor of this. The ground floor. If you look at what BCC did, let's look at 143. So if we're looking at what BCC did, let's look at from June 25, June to say December. Okay, so let's say the span of 5 to 6 months. 5 to 6 months, BitConnect was able to get $1.3 billion in it. 1.3 billion USD. So now let's do some math on if in 6 months, you know, and I think the wave's coming. I think people will learn about this stuff in their levels. You know, everyone learns in a certain level as they start coming in. But as people learn about it, as they start coming in, let's say in 6 months, Proof of Weak Hands gets 10%. 10%, shit, let's say it takes 9 months. Who gives a shit? 9 months, and let's say it gets 10%, you're talking about, you know, $130 million in the contract. How many Ethereum would have to be in the contract? Like, we're talking over 230,000 Ethereum. So I want you to look at how many Ethereum's in the contract right now. 6,295. If we got 10% of BitConnect's market in the same time frame, we would go from 6,295 to over.
By the way, I just did a little bit of math. Just 26,000 tokens. Current price of the current price is between $6 and $8. Sell price and buy price. 6 and some change, 8 and some change. So I just did 7. That's $182,000 as of this video, which was a few days ago that he did. I mean, the thing is, he's speaking his money's where his mouth is, and that's incredible. I think that gives him more credibility than anything else.
230,000 Ethereum. Think about that. Think about the opportunity that got dropped right on our laps with P3D. And people are not taking advantage of it. They're not doing the math correctly. What do I specialize in? Fucking math. Fucking math. And let's do some math. And I want to go over some of the YouTubers' mistakes that they made and what they're not accounting for, you know, when they're selling out at the times they're selling out. So when you're selling out, let me stop this. Okay, so most people think they're losing 20% or something. Actually, it's more. It's probably over 30%. So let's just put it at a flat 30%. If you sell out of the market, you have to wait for the market. You have to wait for P3D to go 30% lower before you could even buy in at a break-even point. Does that make sense? A break-even point. And most people aren't even accounting for the Ethereum missed out by being out of the contract and the price of the tokens. So let's say I sold my number 2 position and I wanted to sell all out of it. Every single token is worth less and less because every token is going down that 10 satoshis or whatever the exact percentage is. Every token that gets sold goes down an exact token amount. So every token that gets bought goes up an exact token amount. And that's where the price comes from. And that's what's so awesome. Everything can be mathematically calculated at any time. The exact amount of Ethereum in the contract is equivalent to the exact amount of P3D that's in circulation at all times. Why? Because it has to be. It was designed that way. It cannot just change things out of, it is designed an exact way. It can only react an exact way. So when people are questioning like the devs and all this stuff, like I can tell just by the questions people.
I want to say something. He talks about missing out on 30%. He's talking about, and I don't know if he circles back to this again or not, but he talks about, and that, in one of my previous videos, you'll see that I said that. Like, people are saying, oh, we lose 20%. No, you lose 30%. But when I heard him talk, I was like, no, you lose a lot more than 30%. You lose a lot more. Because here's the thing. When you buy in, you lose 10%. When you buy out, you lose 10%. 10% of your current balance. And if you exit for good, then you could say, I lost 20% in fees, approximately. The reality is, most people are not exiting for good. They're trying to capture profits. This token is not designed for day trading. You don't capture profits. And I love to hear the justifications of YouTubers saying why they sold. Well, the real reason they all sold is because they got nervous. They're looking at their account value. They're seeing it drop. They probably got too much money invested, is the reality. They can't leave it alone. They don't yet fully believe in what they've got. They want to, but they don't fully believe in it. However, when you lose that 20% getting out, 10% getting in, 10% getting out, when you lose that 20%, most people are getting back in. That's another 20%. Another 10% on that, circle basically from getting in to getting in again. That's another 10%. You've got to overcome that 30% again and again. And it's even bigger than that. That's like a tax for trading in and out, the exchange fees. But it's even bigger than that because that's 30%. You're missing out on dividends when you're out that you could be reinvesting. You're losing a tremendous amount on the ability of compounding because when you lose that 30%, that is 30% that is gone forever. That is 30% that you're not able to reinvest. That's 30% reinvest, but that's 30% that's not able to earn you dividends. Where would that 30% be 3 months, 6 months from now? That's 30% of P3D tokens that you don't own and you give up every time. This is designed to reward those people who hold, and that's the whole purpose of the token. Now, it's a bit of a game, but long term, I think you're going to find that people hold a lot more, and therefore the value is probably going to go up. But there will always be sellers. Even viewers of this video, there will always be sellers. We make decisions off of emotions as humans. We don't make decisions off of logic very well. So that's what makes it. So those who continue to hold, where does that 30% go? Well, if it went to a company, that would be an insanely profitable company. But instead, it gets redistributed to token holders, which arguably may make this game insanely profitable for those people who continue to hold.
People are asking that they have no fucking clue. They have no clue how this stuff's working because I'm still hearing people say, oh, well, why would the dev team come out with another coin already? It's got to be a scam, blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to realize what this is. And you got to realize because it's a smart contract and because this was the first design that they released, once this is released and once it's immutable, there's not much they can do with this coin anymore. There's not much they could do with this contract because it's already locked. They can't just come in and add a bunch of features. And that's the reason why they want to do a more serious coin where now they could create a coin with multiple different streams of income that can come off of holding that coin. And I think it's going to help P3D in the long run as well, because it'll be an interchangeable coin. But the main thing is realizing who is number one in this field, who beat out everyone. P3D. No matter what now, P3D, proof of weak hands, 3D, took the number one title of actually getting an audited smart contract out there, and it's already running. It's unstoppable now. And that can't be changed. It'll always hold its spot in history, and it's amazing. It's amazing when people start to fully understand that. And it's just exciting. We're in very exciting times, seeing what's going to happen over just these next couple months. We'll see what happens. And I think it's going to be awesome. I always go into these videos, with thinking I'm going to go over everything, but I always know I'm missing something. But the awesome part about P3D is, everything's open source. Everything can be answered. I challenge people to bring me questions. I challenge people to hit me up for, one-on-one interviews or just to discuss this stuff. I'm privileged to say I know my fucking shit. So I challenge anyone who wants to come in for a debate. I'm going to make up another video. It's going to be the second video to this. We're going to...
The video hasn't come out yet, by the way, but if you would like, you can definitely subscribe to his channel, and I will try to remember to put a link to his channel down below, but the website is Time is Crypto. If you Google POWH3D Explained by Crypto OG, you'll probably find it. And as much as you want to trust a guy or don't want to trust a guy in a mask, here's what I can tell you. It's a pretty fascinating video without question. And hey, this is a risky space. We're on the cutting edge. It's a game. Heck, it's all games if you think about it. But at the end of the day, know this. The decisions that you make are your decisions. Don't make any investment decisions based off of this content. Consider this one part of your information gathering. But nothing is intended to be financial advice. If you enjoy this video and this content and this type of content, please hit that subscribe button below. This is officially probably one of my longest videos. And if you stayed this long, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for watching. Leave me a comment below. Let me know that you watched the entire thing. I would love to hear that. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up there if you don't mind. Hit that subscribe notification or subscribe button and that bell notification. In fact, I'm going to do that for him now. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day.